Hello students. In the previous class we have discussed about the different types of muscle tissue, and we have discussed there are three types of muscle tissue: striated muscles, which are voluntary also, as well as they are skeletal muscles because they are attached to the bones of the skeleton. And then we have discussed about the unstriated or smooth muscles, which are involuntary in action. We cannot control directly according to our will. And the third one we have discussed about the cardiac muscles. So we have already discussed about all those muscles, and muscles have a special property of contraction and relaxation, which causes movement and locomotion. Okay, now today we are going to start a new topic, that is if you can see in your screen, that is 6.3.4, nervous tissue. Okay, so we are going to study about the last animal tissue, that is the nervous tissue. Now we have already studied that tissue is made up of cells. So nervous tissue is also made up of cells. And what are these cells called as? So these cells are called as, so nervous tissue is made up of cells which are called as neuron or nerve cell. Okay, so nervous tissue is made up of neuron or nerve cell. So if you want, you can note down the definition of nerve cell. Nerve cell is called as the structural and functional unit of the nervous tissue. Okay, so nerve cell or neuron is called, I repeat, is called as the structural and functional unit of the nervous tissue. Okay, now let us talk about, first we are going to study about the structure of the neuron, and then we are going to study about the function of the neuron. So let us see what is the structure of the neuron. Now how nervous tissue is made, you know that tissue is made up of is a group of cells. So neurons are connected with the help of the connective tissues. Okay, so neurons, different neurons are there, many neurons are there which are connected to form a nervous tissue. Okay, so like that many cells form a tissue, like that nerve cell or neuron also makes nervous tissue. Now neuron, amazing fact about the neuron or nerve cell, it can be up to 1 meter long. That you have already studied in class 8. The neurons are the longest cells in our body. They can be up to 1 meter long. Okay, now let us talk about the structure of the nervous tissue. Now if you see, nervous tissue is having a branched structure. Okay, so branching is there. Now the structure can be divided into two categories, or we can say two parts. So there are two parts in the neuron. So part number one is called as the axon. Okay, and the part two is called as the cyton. Okay, cyton is also called as cell body, and axon is a long nerve process. Okay, nerve process means nerve fiber which is coming out from the cyton. So if I make the diagram of the neuron, it looks like this. Now you can see this contains nucleus. So this is actually cyton, and then from there a long nerve is coming out. Okay, and this part is called as axon. So we have cyton and axon, and then we are going to see there are other parts also present here. So in the cyton there are small nerve endings are there. So nerve ending at the cyton, these small nerve endings are called as dendrites. Okay, so they are called as dendrite. So axon contains nucleus, and then at the end of axon also there are small nerve endings are also there. So dendrites are also nerve endings, and at the axon At the end of axon also there are axon nerve endings. So we say axon nerve ending, or we can simply write as nerve ending also. But if you mention axon nerve ending, it is easier for us to learn and remember. And then we have dendrite, which are also nerve ending. So you can see here at both the end of the neuron we have the nerve ending. So at the end of the means at the in the beginning of the cyton, the nerve endings are called as dendrites, and at the end of the axon there are also nerve endings which are called as axon nerve endings. Okay, and then there are small structures are here which is surrounding the axon, and these are called as Schwann cells. Okay, Schwann cells. Now let us talk about the structure we I've already told you, and let us talk about the function of the neuron. So what is the basic function of the neuron? Now function of the neuron is to transfer messages. So whatever messages are there, it's transferred by the neuron from one place to another place. Like for example, if you see a snake, then how will you respond? How your body will respond? You will scream, or you will run away, or you will get frightened because of the snake. But how your body will come to know that you have seen a snake? So your eyes will take the image of the snake, and then that message from your eyes will go to the brain. How it will reach the brain? How the eyes will send the message to the brain? Through the neurons. So neurons transmit messages from body parts to the brain, or from brain to the body parts. So let me write here function of neuron. I hope you are making notes. Okay. So what is the function of neuron? To transmit messages. Okay. Between body parts and brain or spinal cord. Okay. So the body parts can send message to the brain or spinal cord, and the brain or spinal cord can send message to the different parts of the body. Suppose if I tell you to open your science textbook, so you will hear my voice, and then from the ear the message will go to the brain, and the brain will tell your hand to open your science textbook chapter number 6, nervous tissue. Okay, so what is happening here? The message is from your ear, the message is going to the brain, and from the brain a decision is taken, and a message is going to your hands, and you open your science textbook. This is how the messages are transmitted. So these messages are called as nerve impulses. So whatever messages are transmitted by the neurons, they are called as nerve impulses. Okay, so this is about the functioning of the neuron. Now let us talk about where these nervous tissue is found. So where this nervous tissue is present. So nervous tissue is present in brain. The brain is entirely made of the neuron, and then we have spinal cord is also made of the neuron, and then we have the nervous tissue which is made of the neuron. So spinal cord and brain are entirely made of the neurons, and we have uh, long nerve fibers are there which are transmitting messages from where different body parts to the brain. They are also made up of many neurons. Okay, so nervous tissue is also made up of the neuron. Okay, so brain is made up of neuron, spinal cord is made up of neuron, nervous tissue is made up of neuron. Nervous tissue is present in different parts of the body, and it is entirely made up of the neuron. Now let us see what is given here in the NCERT. Now let us read here. All cells possess the ability to respond to the stimulus. So what is the stimulus? Any change in our external surrounding is called as a stimulus. Like for example, if the temperature becomes hot, that is a stimulus. How our body going to react? What will happen if the temperature becomes high? More temperature is there in our surroundings. Our body will do what? Our body will respond to that by sweating. So we simply sweat so that we can cool down our body temperature. So that is a stimulus. Any change in our surrounding is called as stimulus, and the reaction of the body towards the stimulus is called as response. Okay, so all cells have the ability to respond to the stimulus. However, cells of the nervous tissue are highly specialized for doing this function. Okay, and then these messages are transmitted, the transmitting the stimulus very rapidly from one place to another place within the body. The brain, spinal cord, and the nerves are all made up of nervous tissue. I already told you they are all made up of neurons or nervous tissue. Okay, the cells of this tissue are nerve cells or called as neurons. A neuron consists of cell body or cyton. You can see here, this is the cell body, and this is the long nerve process called as axon, and a cytoplasm with a nucleus. I already told you it contains nucleus and cytoplasm from which a long thin hair like parts arise. What is this part called as axon? Usually each neuron has a single long part process called as the axon, and many short branched processes called as dendrite. So dendrite are also nerve fibers, small nerve fibers. Processes means here fibers. An individual nerve cell may take up to meter long, I already told you, and many nerve fibers are bound together by connective tissue to make a nerve. So many nerve fibers, they make a nerve. So nerve is made up of many nerve fiber, and nerve fiber is made up of many neurons. So one nerve fiber is made up of many neurons, and uh, many nerve fibers make up a nerve. Okay, the signal that passes along the nerve fiber is called as nerve impulse. I already told you that messages are transmitted in the form of nerve impulses. So nerve impulses allow us to move our muscles what we want when we want. The functional combination of nerve and muscle tissue is fundamental to most animals. So almost all the animals contain muscles and uh, neurons send the messages to the muscle, and the muscles contract and relax to show the movement. Like I have given you the example, open your science book. So you have heard the message from your brain will go to the muscles of your hands, and then your muscles will contract and relax, and you will open your book, science book. So this enables animals to move rapidly in response to stimulus. So whatever stimulus is there, so if I tell you something, that is a stimulus, and if you do according to that, that is a response. Okay, so make notes of neuron or nervous tissue, and in the next class we are going to discuss about the exercise question answers which are not done. I have already given some of the exercise questions before the exam so that you can prepare it. Remaining questions I will give the answers now. Thank you, students.